as we're heading towards autumn. Every time I come out on my walk now, I'm keeping an eye out for walnuts. When I've got enough, I'm going to make some walnut ink. So these are my walnuts. These are the ones that I've collected over the last few days, and these are the ones, look at all of those that I collected today. So I'm going to rinse them and soak them. The rest of the dirt and grass off. So that's them in soak. I'm going to leave that overnight. This is not my cooking apron, this is my painting apron. I am going to have a go at doing the walnut ink gloves. So I've got here in my saucepan, can I show you that? The walnuts have been soaking for overnight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chop them up a little bit because some of them are still really quite whole. They're still in their shells. So I want to break them up a bit, and then I'm going to put them in the pan. I'm going to save that water, so I'm going to cook them in the water that they have been soaking in, because that water is nice and stained already, and we'll see how we go. So I've strained off some of the liquid, so some of the water I've just put into a couple of an old glass and an old jam jar. These are the walnuts, so there's still some liquid in there, and I just want to chop them up a little bit. So I don't want to use my food chopping board, so I've just got a piece of gash wood that I found in the garage, and let's have a go at chopping some of these up. So I think it's the outside that's going to give it the colour, but I'm not going to save these walnuts. There'll be lots more later on that I can save and that I can harvest for food use. But these ones, the shells are not really coming off very easily. So I'm just seeing, well, that one's a little bit easier. So there we are. I want all of these, the outer, I don't know what you call it, husk. I need all the vegetation from the outside of the hard nut itself. And I think that's what's going to give me the colour. So this is going to be quite a messy job. The saucepan I'm using is one that I bought from a charity shop that I use for any craft type projects that are not culinary. So I'm going to put all of this back into the pot. I'm not going to play with the whole nuts. I'm just going to leave those as is. It's all going to go in the compost bin afterwards. It's all going to go in the recycling. So my home food composting takes cooked food as well as raw food, so all of that waste will go reused. So this is the pulp I've got in the saucepan. So it's about half the saucepan full of chopped up pulp. I'm going to put some of this liquid back in. I may well just put it all back in because I want it to cover. And to that I'm going to add a tablespoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of vinegar. I don't think it's a precise science. I'm going to pop this on the hob and bring it up to the boil. I'm going to leave it for 30 minutes like this and see how it goes. So here we are after 30 minutes. As you can see, there's no green there at all. The liquid has reduced quite considerably. Absolutely no green. So we're getting quite a lovely brown. I really want this to cook down even more. But I don't want it to reduce too quickly. So I'm going to really put it on the slowest bubble now that I can for the next 30 minutes and then we'll have a look at it again. So basically at the moment I'm just trying to squash down, mash some of those, some of the softer plant material. Obviously I've got the nuts are still whole within here, so the actual walnuts themselves are still whole. But it's the plant material that's going to be producing the brown, and it really is very brown already. I'm not going to start testing it yet because I want to reduce it even more. I'm going to take it back to the hob. So we're now at another 30 minutes, so it's 1 hour since cooking, starting of cooking time. That's what we've got. I think I'm going to aim for 2 hours cooking time and then we'll strain it. So I'm going to call it quits now. This is what I've got. So I'm just going to let that cool for a few minutes. I did a little test with the sea white paper. That was about half an hour ago. So I don't have a funnel that I'm happy to use for this. So what I've brought in from the garden is I've cleaned a flower pot, which I'm going to put my coffee filters in. I might double coffee filter it. And then this is my painting jug that I use in the garage. So that's going to sit in there. So I've got about that much room for ink, which I think will be fine. So it can sit quite happily and strain into the jug. So that is my plan at the moment. So I'm just going to put the coffee filter into there. So I think, like I say, I think I'm going to put 2 in because they do get a little bit weak when they're wet. Obviously they're weaker when they're wet. So that's going to go into there. I've also decided now I've got a yellow thumbnail stain that I'm going to double glove. So I'm going to put a new pair of gloves underneath my original plastic gloves. I should really have bought some marigolds or some washing up gloves, but I don't have them, so I'm just carrying on with life as is. Okay, is that better? So I've just put my jug into the smaller sink here, just so I'm not stretching up too high. And I'm going to plop this liquid into here. Now it may be that I have to take the nuts out. I might have to do that because it's going to fill up too quickly, I think, otherwise. You can hear it dripping down underneath. I don't know whether we can actually see any of that liquid. Yeah. I'm going to use my other old saucepan that I use for dyeing, just to flip some of these natural walnuts just into there, so I can only have the flesh going through the flower pot and the coffee filter. Let's see if I can scrape some more of this in so it can be. I might have to put this through a coffee filter a couple of times, but that's okay, I don't mind. I'm getting a lovely brown colour, but having dealt with walnuts previously, just picking and harvesting to eat, I know that it does stain very badly. So yeah, so what I want to do is actually just rinse these out with a little bit of water, just to kind of wash the saucepan out, but not to waste that water. So let's swish that around here. So I've just brought the rest of that water that I washed the nuts with to the boil. I'm going to put it through the flower pot sieve, but because this is going into my garage jug, when this is all gone through this filter the first time, I'm going to heat it up again and put it through a second coffee filter into a clean sterilised jar. So just to try and prolong the life of the ink, so to keep it as sterile and as clean as possible. I'm going to go in there. Yep, it is. In you go. This has been filtering all night, so this is feeling really hot, thick and sludgy. It's not looking liquid at all. I've got about 300 mils of ink in the bottom there. So I'm going to dispose of the plant material. These are the 2 test strips that I have done. So this was the first one, which has got some plant material in, that was dipped into the saucepan. And it's much darker than the one that I dipped into the liquid yesterday. So that is because, against there. That's because I rinsed the saucepan out and I actually diluted after I'd scraped the debris into the filter. I then rinsed the pot out and so basically diluted the liquid. So I'm going to put that back into the pan. I'm going to reduce it to concentrate that colour again, and then I will pop it I'll sterilise this jar and put it into a clean sterilised jam jar. So that's the plan for this morning. We're nearly there. And I should have slushed that a bit more, because it does seem to have settled on the bottom. There is some sediment on the bottom of that jug, which which is interesting. So I will be putting that through the filter again. Okay, I'm going to pop this on the hob. This is after 10 minutes, so you can see how far that has reduced down in the pan. So I'm going to just do a dip in here and see what that's... Ooh, see, I do have sludge in there still, so that does still need filtering. But we'll compare that with the others. So this is another 5 minutes, so 15 minutes of simmering. I have slushed it around in the pan a bit, but you can see how much has reduced. I was surprised by the debris in the last one. So this is going to be my final colour. I don't want to lose any more of that liquid. And those, yeah, I'm happy with that. Look at that last one, that's lovely. So this is my final ink in the saucepan. So I'm just going to leave that to cool for a bit. I've sterilised my jar. I know that my jar holds 300 mils of liquid. So we'll be able to get a bit of an guesstimate as to how much is in there. So I'm going to, I was surprised by the amount of sludge there was, I'm going to double filter again and hopefully just do it like that over my jar. Previous ones it has worked okay. I will have to be a bit careful and slow with my pouring. Rubber gloves back on. So I'm slushing it around to get the debris that's held on the side of the pan. It's a bit like the thickest, well, darkest gravy that I've ever made. Are you going to go through? Nothing coming out yet. Oh no, I'm just beginning to get a bit of a drip now. This is so slow. Oh my goodness, eh? Yay! First drips come through. Oh my goodness me. Oh, I just hope that I can get all of this in, because I don't want to be standing here with a saucepan. Yeah, okay, it is brimming full on this filter. And yet again, I am very, very, very tempted to rinse this saucepan out because it's got lots of lovely colouring. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to be standing holding a saucepan over a jam jar all morning. So I don't know how clearly you can see. There's the ink, and I've got just the tiniest drip of ink in the bottom. So that's going to sit on the windowsill for about 3 days, I think, at this rate. So this is an hour later, if not longer. So it's not coming through very fast, so I think I may take it out of this filter and put it through one filter and see if that helps. So as you can see, I've poured it into just one filter now. I don't know whether you can see it dripping. It is dripping. I have got some condensation. Yeah, it is dripping through now. Goodness me, this is quite a lengthy process. So I started making the walnut ink on Saturday and today is now Tuesday morning. So we had a couple of issues. So I decided that I would put the ink through 2 filters, and that by Saturday evening was proving to be impossible. So I poured the contents of the 2 filters into one filter, so that's what this is. So this is now completely dry. It's a dry filter. I could have filmed late yesterday, but other things got in the way. So yeah, so this is the amount of ink that I've got out of half a pot full of walnuts. So that is my concentrated ink. But with the double filter, I decided that there was too much goodness in there. There seemed to be quite a lot of sludge. So I poured some boiling water through one of the filters, the second of the filters, to just do a second brew basically. And so that's what I've got in this little container here. So this is more diluted. This is just had water put through it. But I don't know if you can see, when I tip it, there is still sludge in the bottom, so it's not, there is still a sediment. I'll try and take some pictures of that. So this may be an ink that I need to filter again. It does take its time going through the coffee filter, but I may filter it again. This, or else it's just one that I stir every time I use it. It's not one for putting through a cartridge pen, definitely, because that's going to clog it up and destroy your pen. But so I'm just giving this a good swish. So this is the concentrated one. So the concentrated one is in the jam jar. I've got a couple of pieces of watercolour paper again. So I'm just going to dip in here to see what we get, which at this stage doesn't actually look very dark. I don't know if you can see that clearly. It's still quite wet, so that needs to dry. And then this is in the other glass. So this one's going to be more dilute, and it is more dilute. That's where we are at the moment. But because of this sludge, I really don't know whether to put it through again, just to try and get more of that sediment out. I'm tempted. I am tempted. These filters dried out would make lovely collage material, I think. So I'm not going to throw those away. That's where we're at. Well, we're now on day 4. It's Wednesday. So yesterday I had 2 jars of the walnut ink. One was a more concentrated one, and then I washed the pan and everything out. So I had a more diluted pan and I had a more concentrated one. And these, whoopsie, and these were the results from yesterday. Now I was a little bit disappointed with the concentrated version because I knew that I could get a really dark colour, and that's quite a difference. So yeah, I was just a little bit disappointed. So what I did then yesterday was I thought, right, I'm going to do this again. And so I combined the two containers. So I mixed the diluted ink in with the concentrated ink. It went back on the hob, came up to the simmer, and I've done another filter. And this is the result of that. Now, I don't know, let me know in the comments if anybody else has this issue, but it seems to take forever to get through the coffee filter, and it's only just gone through this morning. So it seems to clog up quite quickly. There's quite a lot of sludge in there, which is fine, that's what I want to remove. I don't want a sludgy ink, but it just, it's very frustrating going you know, that process of filtering. Very nearly bailed again and put one filter into another filter, but I kind of swooshed it around and found a different place on the filter for it to go through. So that's that. So my plan today is 4 days making walnut ink. We've got to stop somewhere. So this is what I've got. So what do we reckon there? 30 mils? Don't know. I've got a piece of watercolour paper. I've labelled it up for day 4, and I just want to have a little dip to see what we get with that, to see whether it has actually gone darker. And yet again, look, there's sludge at the bottom. There's sludge at the bottom of this jar. So even though it's going through the coffee filter, I'm still getting debris in the bottom. So that's interesting. Which may make me reconsider my next step. Anyway, back to this. So this is what I'm getting so far today. Let me just get another piece of kitchen paper so I can have a piece of white paper behind so you can see more clearly. So that's today's, which is still written not quite the dark colour that I got on day 1. So maybe it's just dark because it was what was in the pan, and that has a lot of debris in it. So this one, this dark one is very blotchy because it had got the plant material in it, but I'm not quite sure. So was this worth it? Well, I've got a lovely brown substance here, which I can do some drawing with. I love the colour of the walnut ink. It's just a nice soft brown colour. So anyway, cosmetic jar. I've sterilised a cosmetic jar, so I'm going to put it in that. Can we see? So I'm just going to pop it in. Oh, it fills a jar. Okay, nearly fills the jar. So that jar is a 50 ml jar. So I've got nearly 50 mils of ink, which is good. And I've swooshed it so all the debris is now in there as well. So there again, I'm going to keep the filters. I've got my filters tried out from the other one. Yeah, they're unbleached filters, so they're brown anyway, but it's got some nice texture on the inside. In fact, I'm going to open one up and show you. So there's nice marking on the inside that could be used for collage or some sort of base to something. So that's the other one. So I'm going to dry that filter out. This is my jar of ink that is going to be my final version. I've been doing a little bit of research and I put a clove in the other inks that I've made. I don't actually like the smell of cloves too much. So there are other things that you can put in, and one of the essential oils that was mentioned was lavender. So I'm going to have walnut ink that smells of lavender, which is going to be a bit weird, but I'm just going to put a few drops of lavender in. I'm going to put 5 in, and that is going to hopefully preserve it a little bit, just to stop it from going bad. But if it goes rotten, if it goes mouldy, hey, I can do these whole 4 days again. Oh gosh. Anyway, I'm looking forward to having a play with them. This morning I've received a little parcel. So yeah, I have ordered something to experiment with. So my next video is going to be showing you what I have planned here and seeing whether this experiment works. Oh. Okay, I'm going to clear up now and call this project done.